us today. Lori Homan and me from Kelly Noguera from Jorgensen Labs. We're hosting this meeting for you all, hoping we can give you some good information on reproduction. And today we have a very special guest. We have Mandy Paul from Breeders' Choice. And so Mandy's been associated with large animal breeding since she was born. So her parents raised her on equine breeding farms growing up. It's been her absolute passion. Not only is it in her blood, living and breathing the topic daily, she talks about it all day, every day, even now. So she's a fellow alumni from Colorado State University with her bachelor's degree in equine science and large animal sciences. And so there, she intensified her breeding background even more to share this wonderful, innovative product and support for breeders and veterinarians worldwide. So without further ado, I have the pleasure of introducing you to Mandy Paul from Breeders' Choice. So Mandy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Kelly. I've got a little makeshift work table down here. I hope you guys can see. Today I'm going to talk about the iSperm, and the neat thing is we actually have a sample today. I'm not sure if you guys can see that, and I'll share my screen soon. But the point is that you can do semen analysis kind of anywhere at this point with it all being ran on the device. It's just here in a little sample there. What the iSperm gets you is mobile ability to have concentration and motility all done just right here on the desktop. It also has a heater that helps with cold shock. So I will run a sample real quick and kind of show you how it goes and then get into some details if anybody has any further questions. I'll push my computer down like that and hopefully you guys can see it. I'll just show you how we run the sample. So here's the app. You've got.
So tell us what it does
here,
Mandy, on initially just going into it, so we know what we're going to expect.
Yeah, so it does your concentration and your motility, like a blue box would or a photometer, but a little bit more sophisticated. It is more mimicking the larger, expensive CASA machines, the computer-assisted semen analysis machines, that large desktop things. And so you put your sample in there and it will calculate your concentration for you and your motility. And there's several species available. So there's bovine, and equine, dog, there's even rooster. They came out with mice recently, goats, sheep. But today we have horse semen. So we'll start there. So you just take your light and a tip, you turn your light on. It's pretty dim, but that's what it's supposed to be. I have a semen sample here, a pipetter, a little next full-size tip where you put your sample in. And you always want to make sure anytime you're doing semen analysis that you mix your sample very well before every single test that you do. So I'm just going to put 3 drops in here. You can use a micropipettor. There's other ways you can do it. And then I'm just going to put the two together. And then it measures the perfect amount. When you put those chips together, measure the perfect amount of what it needs to read. And then I'll screw it in the back. I've got to plug in the heater. Hopefully, if I did this well, I'll be able to see all these guys swimming around. Can you guys see that?
We're going to have you plug
it in. You want me to share this?
Yeah.
You want me to share the screen? Okay. See if I can remember how to do that.
So talk about the dilution a little bit, if you don't mind, on the semen right there. How are you diluting it so you know how much to put in the applicator?
That's a good question. So this semen sample was a cooled semen sample that was shipped to me. So the nice thing about the iSperm is that you can do already diluted with extender samples and get concentration and motility. With a regular photometer, you wouldn't be able to do that. You would have to just use either a hemocytometer or more expensive nucleocounter. So that's nice about the iSperm. And then if you had a raw sample and you were processing semen, then you would want to dilute it out so that the semen has enough room to move around, so you would get a decent motility. If they're all just hitting each other, then they're not going to go anywhere, and it won't work.
So how long have you been using the iSperm? How long has this been out?
It's been out over 3 years now to the U.S. for equine and bovine. Prior to that, they started with swine kind of all over the world, kind of tested that market. And then, it's been really successful. I think mostly it's really helped the mare owner end of things, because they used to get semen, or, veterinarians would get semen, and they didn't really have an easy way to check, if the sample was any good. They would put it on a cold microscope, and then they would call the stallion owner and say, this stuff is crap. And then, it was just kind of like he said, she said. Now with a little bit more of affordability piece of machinery that's also portable, I think that's going to really help the equine market be more successful, really call out the people that are shipping bad semen, and then, help the people that aren't shipping bad semen.
Awesome. This is amazing. So I'm so glad we got to show this, because we're going to be just amazed with this. It's pretty cool.
Okay, so I already have the sample in the back. If you hit the Analyze Now button, we just started to get a bubble, and there's a little, obviously, delay in the screen there. But you hit Start Analysis. And then in 10 seconds, it takes 210 frames and does the motility and the concentration and your progressive motility down there. You can turn the back to kind of get a different view. And I can do another sample. This one, after some time, it's because it's such a small amount, it gets bubbles, and you don't really want to trust that per se. And then I also unplug the heater, but you get the point. So you can hit Start Analysis again. And in the meantime, the next frame has different sperm that have swim in and out, and a slightly different view. And you can hit Show All Data. And for instance, let's see, let's keep going. Let's say it does an analysis that just seems totally different than the other ones. Kind of like when you look at sperm on a microscope, the different sides of those slides are going to be at different, motilities and concentrations. So it'll kind of give you those averages. So you can see Show All Data, and you can go, oh, the 16.29 first one, doesn't really correlate with the other two. So I'm going to delete that one. And then you could do complete analysis, and it gives you your concentration, your motility. It gives you can do draw sperm tracks, which is a fun new thing. So it says, okay, we're telling these green ones that they're total motility, the blue ones are progressive, the red ones are dead, the yellow just isn't good enough. And then just that little caution sign says shape was detected. That's because I'm holding it, and it's not just like on a flat surface. And you can swipe over and see your other one. And then it tells you they averaged it out to 48.9. And then you can go to, I don't know if you guys can see, do you see the bottom of the screen? It says semen packaging. You can click that. And let's say this was a raw sample and I diluted it 1 to 10. So now you've got your original concentration, which you can further do your cooled semen calculations on that below that. If you're working with bovine, you're probably not going to use that bottom feature. Mostly they do frozen semen. So so then you get your motility, and you hit the check mark, and you can name it whatever you'd like. And then go back to your home screen. And if you go down here to the data center, measurement history, there's what we just did. So you can pull it back up. Other thing that's nice that you can do straight from here is clients are like, oh, I want to see, what the sperm looks like. This is this sample earlier, warmed up appropriately. And so you can take a video with just the magic of your iPad, screenshot it, send it as a message or a file. You can save all the information to an Excel file. It just really helps. I think it's really going to help people understand that, there's good semen, there's great semen, and then there's the semen in the middle that really needs to be, figured out. Is it really, our eyes can play a trick on us because we think the total motility is a lot higher than it really is, because the live semen's moving and it catches our eye and the dead really isn't. So I think for many years, people have been overestimating motility.
Yeah, absolutely. And all it is, like it's an iPad. You can just use an iPad to do this and put this camera on. I can see, like you're saying, like this can protect people from problems of just he said, she said. It's like you have actual footage of what it looks like, a sample, the concentration and the motility on there. So that's huge.
Yeah. I thought there was a question in the chat. I didn't.
There was
You
price.
guys able to?
Got that answered on there. But let's see, other question. Let me pull up here. Can you search for a certain stallion at the end of the year and pull it up?
Yeah, you sure can. As long as it's like a Word file. So as long as you name the stallion the same every single time, then it'll put a date stamp on it. And you can go to, I don't know that I'm actually logged into the cloud right now, but you can go to animal lists here. Let's see if it will let me log in, if I can remember my password. Yeah, so you can look under Justin here and pull up, you can see all of this stuff here at the bottom. All the different ones on the different days and different timestamps. And you can also, this is probably more for production animals, but if you wanted to, you can change it and you can say, you can graph it by motility, you can graph it by raw concentration, go over, if I had many, many, many samples, you could go over months or weeks or days, so just the one day. So there's, and then these files, you can also, like this little sync button here. Oh, it's already done. You can do that, and then you'd hit the check mark, and then you can export videos to the album. So you can pick which ones you keep as a video. So if I was to go to videos, go to photos, my album, iSperm Equine, then that's kind of how it would export it. Hit play. I think you can hit play. Anyway, there's lots of ways to get it done. There's lots of ways to get it moved.
And I know, yeah, and Mandy, you've been really helpful too. I know people in the past, when they've had questions, they can reach out to you to get support, like how to use the technology. So if that's something that's kind of scary to some of us, don't worry, there's support behind it, because I know sometimes it can be a little daunting, but you can use this technology to your advantage. There's someone who asked a question here. It says, how well does it work with a horse with low concentration?
It kind of, just like any other machine, it has its sweet spot. With a stallion with low concentration, I mean, it's right here, right now, we're reading a concentration of 20 and it's doing just fine. I don't know that I've ever heard of a stallion with concentration that low. So the iSperm likes to do motility between like 25 and 60 million per ml. That's where we found it correlates the best with like cost machines for motility. But the cost machine also has that same sweet spot. They just have to have enough room to move around. So low concentration stallion, if it's anything over 20 million per ml, then that's absolutely fine. And then if you have a high concentration stallion, you just dilute it out. I usually tell most of my stallion clients to at least start with a 1-to-4 dilution. That's 1 part semen, 4 parts extender. You don't even, if you're doing some kind of like clean out collection, you don't want to thaw some extender. You can actually use lactated ringers that are warmed. Obviously you don't want to inseminate with that, but that's another possibility.
Perfect. Yeah. And then this is just a side note too, of like, I'm just thinking of like where you could absolutely use this in the field. Like, say you're a veterinarian and you have a lot on staff, just having this in the barn for those who you can just have correlated notes between the stallion that you've collected and sharing it with your clients. Or yeah, if you're just a breeder as well, seeing how this could be used in the field. Where else have you seen it used?
The manufacturer is actually it's gotten pretty big in like zoology. So they can take it out and, they have a whole thing where they put a bunch of leopards, not to sleep, but, pass them out and they electroejaculated them and was able to do all this in the field and get good recordings and have everything without lugging around a microscope. So that's been good. And we've got deer clients, we've got bovine clients, canine, you name it. Rooster side hasn't really taken off, but.
Oh, the rooster? Funny, that's the rooster side.
Yeah, because I think they're all like in one location.
Yeah. Well, how about the bovine? So how are you seeing people using it out in the field?
So bovine's pretty interesting. You usually, what I've found, and I could be wrong, but you usually have two different kinds of ways it's either being used. It's either being used with a frozen semen sample that the veterinarian's going to check before it's inseminated, or you have your shoot side vets that are doing the breeding soundness exams, and they're doing 100 bulls a day. Well, this helps them a lot to make that motility part faster and get it the recording faster. It won't do morphology. I don't think it'll ever do morphology. So people just, instead of bringing their morphology scope out with them, they will just do a slide there and then take it back where they're warm and do their morphology when they get back. So this is best for concentration motility, but you can do, it has a screen. Let's see if I can get to it. It has a screen. This little eyeball up at the top, I'm not sure if you guys can see it. It makes it a 200x. So this is kind of going to be the best look you're going to get from those sperms. So if there was every one of them had a distal droplet or a bent tail or something like that, it's actually a decent sperm here. Then you would be able to see that, but it's still not going to give you, you can't dye them. It's not going to give you a great, sense of motility.
Mandy, there's a question on here. Does this have the ability to calculate for the packaging of frozen semen?
No, it doesn't. We recommend the Go-To Pharma app for that. They have a really awesome app. So this will just do cooled semen right now. There's a little bit more that is involved with frozen semen. Some more variables. Makes it a little more complicated.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions? Don't see anything.
And you guys are allowed, if you have a question too, of course, now we can open up the dialogue. If you want to take yourself off of mute, that's available as well. So we just answered the frozen semen motility. So Mandy, do you want to talk a little bit about the process for frozen semen motility on how you can evaluate it?
So it depends. So we'll start with equine. There's two things. There's the processing of the frozen semen is one way to do it. You spin the semen down in a nice MX5 centrifuge, and then you would resuspend that and to at least a 1 to 2 or maybe even further. It kind of depends on how you like to do it. And then you would test it just like you would with like a hemocytometer. You'd put the sample in there, and then you get your post-centrifugation concentration. It's still probably too concentrated to get a great motility, but at least it's there on the screen and you have record of it. And the other way is to actually analyze frozen semen after it's been frozen. You can have straws that are anywhere between like 200 and 500 million per ml in there. So again, that's going to be a little concentrated. So we recommend that people still dilute it out further. It doesn't have to be with the same extender. It's just some warm lactated ringers again or something. To then extend it out enough so you can get a motility. It still needs to be in the range of that.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, we can go into that. That's a long-term conversation on how to do all that too. So just, yeah, that's perfect. Just a little overview on that. And all you guys who are listening to, we have days tomorrow and the next day, and we're going to go over even more equipment and supporting items that can help you with things like she said, like looking at morphology and things like this. So this is a great example of how you can do concentration and motility in the field, having records to show your clients. And this is outstanding. This is something that's well welcomed into the industry. If you are anyone in the group, if you're interested to learn more about iSperm, I'm going to put a link in the chat box to set up a phone consultation to see if this is a good fit for you and your practice. So feel free to fill that out. If this is something, you want to learn a little bit more about, we're happy to help with pricing if you have different species and things like that. We're here to support you. So this has been a huge success for Mandy. You've had several clients that just talk like rave about it. So I just am so happy that you're available to share that with us today and go over all the details. Would you mind just doing it one more time just for people to see the process again before we take off so they have an idea?
I can keep this sharing on and do it both at the same time.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect this way.
You just have your light. I got my sample here. I don't know if you guys have seen these aluminum beads before, but they're amazing. Just like warm them up and then they hold your tubes in place, all kinds of stuff like that. So then you have your chip. Turn your light on. Your base chip. Your pipetter. Like I said, we always want to mix our semen every time.
So the point of mixing is to make sure it's not diluted in one area or another.
Yeah, the point of mixing is the semen is not exactly, and I can't come up with the right term, but it's not the same in all the places. So if you let live semen sit for a while, you're going to get a lot of it that kind of will change because the live ones will swim to the top and the dead ones will go to the bottom. There we go.
And that's a heated source, you said, right? That's like a heated little stage.
Yeah. So that's the only thing that has to be plugged in, and I just have a external battery here. And then when you turn that on, this light should come on. And then when it's blinking, it's on, it's at body temperature. So it doesn't take long, like maybe a minute. You just screw it in the back there.
Perfect. Now we can see your screen really well.
See, I can turn the back of this, and that little plastic piece in there is actually their logo, and that helps you decide, if you start analysis here and you want to change directions, then you can point it up.
Oh, that little triangle you're talking about?
Mm-hmm. And so you can see it, how bad the semen got just not being warm. This is the exact same sample I had before. And I think that's a big problem in the industry. So meanwhile, my little beads here have cooled down. It'd be better if all of this was on a hot plate or one of the ready warms that you guys sell. And then if you turn it another way, just start analysis again. But you can see, like, the same sample looks horrible. And the results are saying so, 16 versus 24, whereas before we were getting a lot better. Now, if I let them sit in this heater for a minute, you can almost see they're already living up. So it's very important that semen is treated. If you really want good results, it's very, very, very important that semen's warmed up appropriately and then, treated appropriately. Otherwise, you can make good semen look bad.
Doesn't matter how far zoomed in you are to do the reading, to do the evaluation.
Nope, it auto zooms. So all the zooming you're doing, like if you do, and it always reminds you. So if I do that and I hit start, that's what, just me looking at it. If I hit start analysis, it does its own auto everything, which is nice. And then the other nice part about the Equine app is you have a notes section here. So you can say, you know, whatever you want. It's with 3 jumps, or this is for such and such mare, or whatever you'd like there. You can also, so it remembers the last ratio you did, but maybe this was a 1:6. So there's your original concentration. You can do the cooled semen calculations either based on total motility or progressive. There's some stallions that just don't have the progressive motility to get the industry standard of enough semen in there. So it would be too much volume. And there's been a lot of studies recently that says fertility correlates better to total motility than progressive motility, which is not what we're used to hearing. But I think it's good news. So.
Wow. So this is amazing. I just think it's so cool that you can share this with your clients, or just have this on file for your just history of your stallion, on, you know, for your, however you want to see it, like your clients or your own, over time as well. So from last year to this year, starting, if this is a good specimen for breeding, I think this is something exciting. So we really appreciate you having you here to explain all this. And if you guys have questions, for example, I see questions on pricing and things like that. It varies, you know, depending on the species and where you're living, and things like that. So if you're living outside of the US, it's going to be different and things. So just feel free to hop on the phone consultation, and so we can direct you to the correct person to help you the most on this. And for tech questions, of course, we have Mandy available, and we're happy to share more. But yeah, so please hop on a call with us, and we can answer more questions for you. Mandy, thank you so much for your time. And we will have an opportunity at the end of the 3 days to ask even more questions. We'll have a Facebook group that you guys can ask and communicate between you all, which will be fun too. So thank you so much for your time. It's 7:30, so we don't want to take much of anyone else's time, but we will see you all tomorrow, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And Mandy, feel free to join us tomorrow too if you want, and we'd love to have you visit. We have some amazing products and just evaluation items tomorrow to help you all, just like this. So we're excited to see you, and have a great day, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you all for coming. We'll see you tomorrow.